Hey there, this episode of The Unstarving Musician is powered by Bandzoogle, helping musicians around the world create professional artist websites. They have an easy-to-use system, tons of mobile-friendly templates, and it's all built for musicians by musicians. Bandzoogle makes it easy to sell merch and tickets to your own shows commission-free, grow your own email list, and integrate your socials. And they offer support from a musician-friendly team 7 days a week. Plans start at just $8.29 a month, which includes hosting your own free custom domain name. Go to bandzoogle.com to start your 30-day free trial and use the promo code RABONZO to get 15% off your first year. That's bandzoogle.com, promo code RABONZO, ROBONZO. All right, let's do the show. This is the Unstarving Musicians Podcast. I'm your host, Rabonzo. This podcast features conversations with me and indie music artists. Conversations intended to help other indie musicians be better at marketing, business, the creative process, and all the other things that empower us to do more of what we love. Make music. Welcome to another episode. This is a special one. It's the first of its type on The Unstarving Musician. Another podcaster I very much admire, Pat Flynn, recommended that I try this out. Pat said it's a great way to get exposure for your podcast while giving a shout out to the online communities on Facebook. So my ulterior motive was to get some exposure for this podcast. I think it's going to work out okay, but something bigger has already happened. I got to hear genuine stories from musician community managers, how they're supporting musicians and fans, in some cases from all over the world. I picked up some cool tips, made a few new friends, reconnected with old friends, a couple of whom are former guests on the podcast. The irony of this exercise is that the exercise of putting this episode together, that is that it started out rather frustrating. I reached out to a number of community administrators on Facebook, many of whom never responded. Some responded but didn't follow through. I asked them to record a message about how they got involved with their respective communities and what they've learned in the process during the journey. So many weeks passed and a light bulb went off, and I thought, why don't I just ask my own community? So that's what I did. Still know a number of music artists and educators with online communities. So I did that, and booyah, I got the participation I was looking for. Some of them came from the people I'd never met prior to reaching out with the ask, but 4 of the 7 you'll hear in this episode are people I already knew, or with whom I had an existing connection. It's like I'm pretty sure I said in the Unstarving Musician's Guide to Getting Paid Gigs. People love helping people they know. And everybody really helped me out on this, and I hope that I am helping you back, my friends. But hey, man, I love all 7 of you. You helped this episode come together, and that means so much to me. You don't even know. And I think it's going to mean a lot to many listeners of this podcast, and that is a good thing. Before we get started with my special guests, would you like to help other musicians find this podcast? You can do so by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorites. It really does help. And by the way, The Unstarving Musician is made possible through the generosity of listeners like you. To learn about offering your support, please visit our sponsor page at unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor. And by the way, if you're a listener, you're supporting, man. Thank you. Okay, let's roll with my first guest and community manager, Adam. Adam was one of those kind strangers who responded to my initial outreach. Great guy, and he's doing great things. He's in the electronic music world and production world. Adam's group is a mastermind, which I love. I love masterminds. If you've listened to many episodes, you know this. If you've listened to my Morning Tempo podcast, you know this. So Adam discusses challenges, the true power of community, and experimentation in this recording that he left for me. Adam's group is called, his Facebook group is called Music Producers Alliance. One more time, Music Producers Alliance. And Reifsteck, that's how you say Adam's last name. Adam, thanks, man, and thanks for letting me know how to pronounce your name. Here's Adam.
Thanks for inviting me to the Unstarving Musician podcast. So I've been working professionally in the music industry as a composer, producer, collaborative pianist, and recording engineer since 2006. I started an independent electronic music record label in 2015, and since then it has evolved into an online community and artist development platform providing electronic musicians with learning resources, networking opportunities, and career support. Our mission is to help music creators at all levels build and grow their brands online so they can turn their passion into a profitable profession. As an extension of the career development resources we provide at Technophonic, I started a free mastermind group on Facebook about a year ago, originally called Electronic Musicians, and just renamed Music Producers Alliance. At the time of this recording, we now have over 2,300 members and are continuing to grow. It's a safe place where artists and producers from across the globe and at all skill levels can get advice on production and get their questions about the music industry answered. One of the challenges with running an online community is that too often I see artists refusing to help one another because they're afraid that helping someone takes away from an opportunity that might have otherwise been theirs. First of all, that's incredibly selfish. And second, it's not true. Helping someone else get closer to their dreams doesn't mean you're getting further away from yours. Another challenge is keeping the community free of artists spamming their links to their music. I'm truly puzzled why artists and producers still think that this is the right way to promote their music. Having worked in the industry since the beginning of social media, rarely have I seen that this strategy work, and it wastes everyone's time. So I monitor the group closely and turn on post-approval in order to keep conversations about helping each other grow both artistically and professionally. So I believe the true power of community is working together. It's knowing that we have one another's backs, that we don't view each other as competition, but rather as friends, and that we're all in this together. In the past year, I've been experimenting with a variety of different things to help stimulate discussion and collaboration. I hosted mixed feedback live streams and invited industry professionals to share their insights. Through these Facebook Lives, I facilitate conversations you need to be having as a producer, trying to make it in the music industry. So we've covered a variety of topics from music licensing, promotion, and getting gigs to mindset and productivity. So when serving as an administrator of an online community, it's important to ask the members what is important to them. So polls are very helpful in this respect and also led to the name change of the group to clarify its purpose. In the new year, we are going to be running production challenges to help members of the group take things to the next level in 2020. Prizes we're thinking about are official release on my label, Technophonic Recordings, free coaching sessions with one of the Technophonic mentors, or your track professionally mastered by our team. So I feel like as a industry, we are becoming more and more fragmented. The title of this podcast is very interesting to me. Today, it's not that people are unwilling to spend money on music, it's that they have a choice whether or not to pay for it. It's our responsibility as creatives to fight for making music a legitimate profession. Only when we come together as a community can we lift each other up, and it's my hope that my company Technophonic helps contribute to a positive change in our industry. So thanks for having me, and feel free to check us out at the Music Producers Alliance on Facebook or technophonic.com.
My next guest is Chris Coles. He was another kind stranger who responded to my inquiry. His community is called Musicians Unite. It's also a website, musiciansunite.com. But you can find Musicians Unite on Facebook. It's a pretty cool place. It's a place for musicians to learn from one another through the common language of music. And a shout out to John King, who is Chris's co-manager of Musicians Unite on Facebook. Here's Chris Coles.
Hi, my name is Chris Coles, and I'm the founder of the popular community for musicians called Musicians Unite, which initially started as a Facebook page at facebook.com/musiciansunite, and then blossomed into a full-blown website located at musiciansunite.com as well. As a musician myself, I started Musicians Unite to create the community I was looking for but couldn't find. A place for all musicians to feel welcome, to come together, to more easily network with, learn from, support, and inspire each other. One of the most important things that I've learned since starting Musicians Unite is that no matter what age or skill level musicians are, no matter what instrument or style they play, no matter if they play covers or originals, or if they play 1 gig a year or 20 gigs a month, we all have something to learn from each other. We all have a passion for music and speak that same language of music. And by coming together, we can all make our own musical journeys more enjoyable and productive. So if you haven't already, come on over and join our community. We promise that you'll find yourself right at home.
All right, thanks, Chris. My next special guest is Abe Partridge. Abe has been a guest of the Unstarving Musician, as has Chris. I forgot to say that. Chris has been on the podcast too. Abe was on an early episode back at episode 67. He told some amazing stories of his journey into the music scene. So, Abe's doing something a little different. He's not the only one doing it, but a little different than these last two guys you heard from. He has a group called Fans, Friends, and Family. And he talks about his frustrations with Facebook pages as it relates to staying connected with his community. He mentioned some tips on notification settings, and he talks about how this community morphed into one that is circles around his art and his music, and has evolved into something that goes beyond the borders of the U.S. into Europe. So, Abe, you're doing good stuff, man. I know your fans, your friends, and your family like this. So here is Abe Partridge.
Hey, Roberto. This is Abe Partridge. I started the Abe Partridge Fans, Friends, and Family Facebook page because I got tired of trying to figure out how to make my stuff get seen on my actual band page or my artist page, Abe Partridge, on Facebook. It seems to me like I could post something on there and 40 or 50 people I would get 40 or 50 interactions and then whenever I posted something on my personal Facebook page, I would get somewhere in the hundreds. And the way to go around that was to start a group, because whenever you join a group like that, you can set your notifications to get you can set it up in your settings to get a notification every time something is posted there. So people that are really interested in following what I do artistically or whatever, that's the best place for them to go, is to my Facebook group. And they can be kept up to date on what it is I'm up to, where I'm going to be, where my shows are, any new product or whatever I got for sale. And that was the original intention behind it. What it's morphed into is a place where it's become like more of a community online of people from across the United States and Europe who have, for some reason or another, came to my art and my music, and it's now become a thing where people share stories and of what's going on in their world, and it's become a pretty cool online community that I'm awful glad to have built up around my career. I hope this finds you well, man, and peace.
All right, my next special guest is Groovy Judy. I love that, Groovy Judy. She is a San Francisco Bay Area musician, and she's a longtime member of the community. I think she's possibly been following the Unstarving Musician pre-launch of the podcast. I'm not sure, but she was looking for a different way to interact, or a different way of interacting with people on Facebook, and it's just for groovy people, which you'll hear her say. She shares her music, her life, and one thing she said she's learned is she's learned about the pitfalls of not posting regularly in her group. So this is sort of kind of a fan page a little bit like Abe's, but didn't actually start out that way. She, I think it was good for her to come on and do this for the Unstarving Musician, as you'll hear. She, by the way, Groovy Judy, she's kind of an insider. She has been with the community for a long time, and you can be part of that community by visiting unstarvingmusician.com, and there's a little box right there to sign up. It's free. You can unsubscribe at any time, but Judy and I get to exchange emails every once in a while. When I send her one, she sometimes lets me know things that are on her mind, and she's always great about answering questions whenever I'm looking for, advice, tips, inspiration from listeners. So, Judy, you are groovy. Here she is.
Hey, Rabonzo, it's Groovy Judy. Yay. Are you feeling groovy? So I started my group on Facebook called Groovesters, and I started it because I wanted to have a different way of interacting with people on Facebook and get to know the people in the group. I wanted to start a group that was just for groovy people and get to know them a little bit better and share, about me and what I'm doing with my music and my life, and just, try to interact a little more. And what I've learned from it is, people really appreciate hearing from me. People appreciate, me singing my little songs and just, having fun and being a positive little shining light in their day, if that's what they need. And they interact with me, not as much as I would like, but they interact. And I think part of the reasons why they don't interact as much is because I don't post as much as I should in that group. So that's one of my mini goals for 2020, is to try to be more consistent in my posting of that group. So I think when I'm done here recording this message, I'm going to do something in the group, just because I haven't in a while. All right. So if you're a member of the Groovesters group, thank you very much. And if you'd like to be a member of the Groovesters group, just send a request. All right. Peace and love. Happy 2020. Talk to you later.
Next up is Lindsay White. Lindsay's really special. She's been on the podcast. She is super talented and she's a super giver. She wanted a way to connect with like-minded women creators, and she's doing so through a Facebook community called Lady Brain Collective, also known as Lady Brain Presents. This community goes well beyond Facebook, which you'll hear about, and it's grown into a safe place for its members, online and offline, to support one another and learn from one another. She's exposing her local music scene to the talent around that surrounds them, and she talks about what she's personally gained and giving back.
Hi there, my name is Lindsay White, and I am the founder of a group called Lady Brain Collective, or Lady Brain Presents. What we are is a local collective of women identifying creators here in San Diego. I started this group at the end of 2018, just sort of out of the desire to connect with other like-minded women identifying creators in my community. I was feeling a little bit isolated in my creative world, and just wanted to develop more genuine, authentic relationships with people who were experiencing a similar creative career path as me. And what it grew into in a relatively short time was not only a safe physical space for members where we could share resources and opportunities and support each other, but also where we could bring forth the talents of these members to our community, and also a little bit of education to our community about how important it is to hire and support and pay women artists. So it's been wonderful on both sides. What I've personally gained from this is just developing those real relationships and being able to be more present in the moment, because as an artist, sometimes you get sucked into this forward future thinking, ambitious goal setting, which is all, great. It's great to have goals and be ambitious and constantly think about how you're leveling up in your career. But sometimes it's easy to miss out on what's going on now and the fact that you could be having really quality experiences with really quality people. And that's sort of, for me, what Lady Brain has turned into. And it's great because I've seen that in other members who have been really active in the collective. You definitely get out of it what you put into it. And it's been wonderful to see women working together and supporting each other. And I've seen growth in their businesses because of these relationships. And it really is all about the people. So that's been wonderful. And I'm excited to continue to grow and continue to do bigger things in the community, not just because, hey, look at us, but I think it's really important for a community and the creative people who live in it to work in tandem and to support each other, lift each other up. And I think you can create a lot of change in the world that way. And that's also something that we try to do with a lot of our events, just trying to give back to organizations and causes that are in need of some sort of assistance or resistance. Artists are always on the front lines of those movements. And it's been great to just sort of facilitate change through art. And I think that's what we're doing with Lady Brain. So if you want to follow along, you can visit ladybrainpresents.com and let's keep growing.
Next up is Mike Kaufman with a K, Mike Kaufman. Mike was one of the initial responders to my outbound request, one of those kind strangers. His Facebook community is simply called Musicians. He isn't the founder, but he was invited to be a co-administrator, and he's really been running with it. So he has been and still promotes music via Instagram and Facebook, and promotes events around Jacksonville, Florida, where the area in which he lives. So the group today is sharing stories, promoting one another's music, and he talks about that. And he's also mentions how proud he is of his local music community and the strong blues scene that it has there. Mike, thanks for doing this, and all right, let's give him a listen.
So, hey, Robonzo, this is Mike Kaufman, and in regards to the musicians page on Facebook, we were promoting a lot of music on social media via Instagram and Facebook, and there's a lot of groups out there that support a lot of things, music as much as anything. I use social media to bring people into events that it was unprecedented how many people social media reach compared to the past with print, radio, and television. And I recognize this ability to reach, just the masses. So I use social media to promote events, 2, 3, 4 nights a week at different locations around Jacksonville, Florida. And one of our local musicians had started the Facebook group Musicians, and Art Winkler gave me a call and asked me if I would be willing to be added as an administrator on the group because of my reach with music fans as much as musicians. Well, there wasn't many members, originally at the time, and we've watched it grow from the beginning to thousands of members all over the world. So here's a forum for musicians from young to old, from musicians with little experience to musicians with recording experience, possibly Grammy nominations and so on, have a forum to come together and share what they do and the music that they produce or that they make. And it's been a really cool thing to see so many people request membership and then post their videos and then talk about what they're doing musically. And so the group Musicians on Facebook has turned into a really awesome way for people to communicate and share their stories and promote music and just provide food for thought for fans and musicians alike. It's been really cool. I don't know what more to tell you. I could tell you more about our music scene in Jacksonville, but if you want to hear that, send me a message and let me know. We have an amazing music scene here. It's absolutely incredible with, former Grammy winners, nominees, Hall of Famers, world-class touring and recording artists. It's a crazy good location. And the blues, it's really big here in Jacksonville. So if that's something you'd like to hear more about, send me a message. I'll tell you all about it. Thanks, man.
All right, last but not least, we have Tony Avery. He is also a San Francisco Bay Area guy. He and I are connected through the Musicians Marketing Network group on Facebook. That is a group that I co-founded with my pal Ariel Asher, who's also in the Bay Area. And Tony's been the admin for that group for a while. He talks a little bit more about a group. He's actually administrating a few groups and pages, and he talks about the Musicians Marketing Network, but also about one called the Band Action Page and Group for bands to advertise shows, and it's also a place for listing of bands that he kind of curates. He mentioned some other pages for fan postings of videos and pics and shows that they've attended. Does talk a little bit about the Musician Marketing Network, as I mentioned. He said he does interviews for that one, too. I haven't even seen those, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, here is Tony.
Hello, my name is Tony Avery, music promoter and MC for 20 bands in the Bay Area on the Band Action page. I also have advertising and listing pages to help bands advertise their shows. Currently, I am the administrator and editor of Musicians Marketing Network, a group and page. Musicians need to have a way to collaborate, and so that's why I have this particular page going right now. I also have interviews I hold each month for that page as well. The group bands advertise on their shows and whatnot. And then, of course, the page, I do special events. I started promoting bands several years ago to help some bands I saw get noticed because they were only advertising by word of mouth, which is, of course, not enough usually to pack the house. Please take a look at some of these pages and groups I have, and please keep supporting live music. The first page I have is called the Band Action page. It's a group and a page. The group, 20 bands advertise their shows on, and then the page is a listing page of the 20 bands that I've selected and picked. Another page I have is the Music Revelation page. This is an advertising page for all the top bands in the Bay Area. Number 3, I have the Band Review page. That's also a group and a page. The group is a review page set up for people to put videos and pictures of after the show they went to see. Very interesting page, and I really hope that page goes far because the bands get to be seen by people all over the Bay Area that normally wouldn't see them. Number 4 is Musicians Marketing Network. That was the page I was just talking about earlier. I do have interviews. I review musicians on that page once a month, and also a lot of musicians in the Bay Area and beyond advertise their shows and things that they're doing as a musician. My name again is Tony Avery, and thanks for listening to me, and hopefully we'll see you at a show.
All right, that's it, man. That was a lot of fun doing this episode. I actually got these recordings over a number of weeks, and like I mentioned at the top of the episode, really started probably months ago when I started asking people. I got a little discouraged, sort of rethought the approach, got a little persistent, and then eventually went to my own community. But some of the people that I didn't even know responded and participated. That's really, really cool. I hope that this episode actually gets your communities some great exposure, and that people check them out and join them and learn and grow with you. So to each of you, thank you so much. You are the best. Hey, thanks again for listening. If you are loving the podcast, please visit unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor to learn about the various ways that you can offer your support. And again, if you're a listener, I consider you a supporter, especially if you shared it with a friend. Thank you. Look for show notes and links to most everything mentioned in this episode at unstarvingmusician.com/podcast. Thanks so much for listening. With a whole lot of gratitude, peace, love, and more cowbell. Hey kids, one last thing. This is a public service announcement of sorts for Alexa users. Apple Podcasts is now available on Alexa-enabled Amazon devices in the United States. So what does this mean? Why am I telling you? Well, because now you can say things like, Alexa, play The Unstarving Musician on Apple Podcasts, or Alexa, play The Unstarving Musician from yesterday on Apple Podcast. A lot of other cool things like that. So I hope you'll check that out. And if you want to learn more, you can look for a link on messing with your Alexa and podcasts in the show notes. Ciao.